What's going on, people? This is Derek J407 here to give you my thoughts on WWE Elimination Chamber 2017, taking place on February 25th, 2017, live from Las Vegas, Nevada, the last stop, or at least for the Raw brand, the last stop before WrestleMania 34 in 6 weeks. The show had two very different chamber matches, both pretty good, but very differently booked. You had a lot of filler in between. You had a really good segment involving Ronda Rousey, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, and Kurt Angle. Good, weird, odd, but still come around to good. We know who the women's champion is heading into WrestleMania, and we know who is going to challenge the Beast, Brock Lesnar, for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. Granted, we've known this for a year now, but it was made official here. It is indeed going to be Roman Reigns challenging Brock Lesnar for the championship at WrestleMania. This was a match that was rumored to be taking place at this year's WrestleMania, right before last year's WrestleMania. I think it was like a week or two before WrestleMania 33 that the report came out that the plan is for Brock to win the Universal Championship and defend it against Roman at the following year's WrestleMania, and now we're here. That report was true, and it is official. So the entire last year of Brock showing up when he did, to beat people when he did, it was all to build him up so he could go on to WrestleMania and defend the title against Roman Reigns and possibly his final match. You know, his contract's coming up after WrestleMania, so it could be his final match. I mean, not that the finish is already in doubt. I mean, we knew what the result of the chamber match tonight was going to be. I think it's pretty obvious what the finish of the WrestleMania match will be. But we'll get more into that as we get there. As for this show, overall, it was an average show. You had the chamber match at the beginning and a chamber match at the end, and in between, stuff happened, you know, some good, some bad, some indifferent, but stuff happened, and that's pretty much my opinion on that. So yeah, it was just a pretty meaningless show. I'm not really a fan of having a pay-per-view or pay-per-views between the Rumble and WrestleMania. Never have been, because they just seem like filler, except for like one or two matches. That was the case here. That'll be the case in a few weeks for Fastlane, but it's just something to deal with. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and start off with the kickoff show. We had Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson taking on the Miztourage, Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. Of course, the baby faces, that being Gallows and Anderson, they got the win, and they had a quick backstage interview with the Revival, so clearly the feud that they've been having for the past few weeks is not over. I expect both teams to be involved in the Raw Tag Team title match at WrestleMania, probably on the kickoff show. But so that's that. Then we get on to the main pay-per-view, and we start off with the very first ever women's Elimination Chamber match. Alexa Bliss defending her Raw Women's title against the likes of Mickie James, Bayley, Sasha Banks, Sonya Deville, and Mandy Rose of Absolution. So, Bayley and Sonya Deville, they were the ones to start out. They mixed it up a little bit, and the first person released from their pod was Mandy Rose. Just random luck, just dumb luck at that. So she came out, and it was Absolution versus Bayley for 5 minutes, or close to 5 minutes, however long those intervals were. They were double teaming her, throwing her around the chamber, beating her down, and then out came Sasha, who was a house of fire. She was the next person out. She took out everyone, mainly Sonya and Mandy, and then she locked Mandy Rose in the bank statement and made her tap out. So Sasha with the first elimination on Mandy Rose. And not to be too far behind, but Sonya Deville was eliminated by Mickie James. Mickie James was next to be released from her pod, and she ended up hitting her DDT move on Sonya Deville, eliminating her. And then immediately after that, Bayley hit Mickie with the Bayley to Belly to eliminate her. So now it came down to Bayley and Sasha and Alexa Alexa, up to this point, was still in her pod, and then time ran down, and it was time for her to come to the match. So now you have Sasha and Bayley facing Alexa, and they corner her, and they beat her down. They double team her a little bit. Alexa tries to get away. I think she even climbed up to the top of the pod, and this is where one of the big standout moments of the match came, where Alexa was up there, and then Sasha was up there, and I'm not sure if Bayley was already up there or she was trying to climb up, but Bayley was on the edge, and Sasha was already up there. Bayley was hanging off the pod, and it looked like Sasha was trying to help her up and pull her up, but instead she knocked her down. She knocked her right off the pod. Bayley fell to the floor. Some Lion King type shit. Very traumatic movie when I was a kid. But, yeah, that's what it reminded me of. So, Sasha turns on Bayley, at least in this match. But that didn't go unpunished, because later on down the line, after, some brawling between all three women, came to, Bayley and Sasha, and, Bayley hit the Bayley to Bella. What? The Bayley to belly. Good God. She hit the Bayley to belly to Sasha off the top rope, but then immediately got rolled up by Alexa Bliss. So Bayley was eliminated. Then it came down to Alexa and Sasha. They had pretty good back and forth. Alexa even hit the Twisted Bliss off the top of one of the pods. She hit it on Sasha, who was standing up, but then Sasha kind of rolled it over and turned it into the bank statement, but they were both on the outside, and there's no false count anywhere stipulation, so she had to roll under the rope into the ring. Still had it locked in, but Alexa was able to escape, and then eventually she got Sasha in the corner. I think Sasha was going for a move off. She was on the top rope and she was going for the top pod, but then Alexa knocked her right onto the top of the turnbuckle, and it hit a draping DDT from off the turnbuckle, face planted into the mat. 1, 2, 3, and Alexa Bliss wins, retains the women's championship, and is effectively going to be the champion heading into WrestleMania. And after the match, she cut what seemed like a babyface promo, but then she kind of turned it around in the end to establish that she was still a heel. The fans were booing her when she was coming off as a babyface, but then they started to cheer her when she resumed her heelish way of speech. So I thought that was interesting. And during the course of her promo, they were cutting to Sasha, who was sitting on the steps on the outside, was very upset, was very sad, looked very depressed. And based on this match, I guess we could be heading in the direction of finally getting heel Sasha versus Bayley at WrestleMania. I think that might be the obvious direction. I say do that match and then have Sasha win, and then have her go to SmackDown Live and be the top heel on the women's division over there, because they desperately need one. And as for Alexa, I guess they could go in the direction of Alexa and Asuka, but I don't think that's who Asuka's going to choose to face, and I'll get to that when I get to her match. But nevertheless, Alexa Bliss will be the champion heading into WrestleMania. So, good for her. A good match. Not as good as the Women's Rumble, but better than the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match that we saw last year. So, it kind of falls somewhere in the middle there. Good chamber match. I don't know if it was better than the men's. Let me go through the men's one, and I'll try to piece together which one I thought was better. But before that, we have to get through some clutter, that being the Raw Tag Team title match, The Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro versus Titus Worldwide. No, I did not do the worldwide thing. It was Titus O'Neil and Apollo No More Cruz. Of course, Apollo got the chopping block off of his name and is just Apollo now, which is not a bad single name, but another guy who loses part of their name. So such is life. Before the match even started, The Bar, they attacked Titus and Apollo, but then the babyfaces fought back. Then the match started. It was an okay match. These guys, they tried to make their match not come off as complete filler. They failed, but it was a good effort nonetheless. In the end, Sheamus and Cesaro did get the win. Apollo did some impressive things in there. He did like a dive over the top rope onto Sheamus and Cesaro on the outside. So he was pretty impressive. And at a certain point, the crowd was behind him, but the Bar, they win. And like I said earlier, I assume they'll probably be in a multi-person match, probably on the pre-show at WrestleMania, involving some combination of Gallows and Anderson and the Revival. Maybe a four-way if Woken Matt, and maybe Brother Nero can make his return. If that can happen, then that match is on the main card. Otherwise, probably just a pre-show match at WrestleMania this year. And hopefully so, and if so, then maybe it can get the SmackDown Tag Team title match on the main show so the Usos can finally compete on the main card of a WrestleMania for the very first time in their careers. But, nonetheless, match. Up next, we had Asuka versus Nia Jax in a match where if Nia won, Nia would be added to the Women's Championship match, making it a triple threat. Although they never did specify that Asuka chose Alexa as her champion of choice to face at WrestleMania, but I guess we're supposed to assume that in the event that Asuka did choose Alexa, had Nia won this match, she would be automatically added to the Women's Championship match. So this match was just Nia beating the fuck out of Asuka for the entire match, and Asuka doing everything in her power to fight back and try to scratch and claw her way to a victory. Not the dominant Asuka that we've seen the past few months, just her trying to get Nia Jax down. Classic David versus Goliath type of match. Asuka did a good job selling for Nia. She made her look like $1 million. Of course, Nia, who is really popular with the crowd, she gets really huge ovations when she comes out. I think her and Asuka pretty much had even pops, because Asuka usually gets a huge reaction whenever she comes out. And I think to a certain degree, the fans were a lot more into Nia than they were Asuka on this show. So, yeah, but Asuka did a great job of selling for Nia and making all of her stuff look good. And like I said, Nia did a really good job too. So the finish, before the finish, there was one spot where, Asuka managed to get Nia into the armbar, but Nia reversed it. She lifted Asuka up and just kind of threw her into the corner. But the finish came when Nia was going for a powerbomb on Asuka, but Asuka, rolled through and got the roll-up win, so just barely eked out a victory over the girl who's not like most girls. Then after the match, Nia laid out Asuka and even charged her into, not charged her, she bum rushed her into the security wall, the barricade on the outside. Not sure if it got a holy shit chant. I would imagine it probably did, because moves like that get holy shit chants these days. But yeah, so Asuka, had to scratch and claw her way to a win. She barely got a win, and then Nia laid her out after the match. So Nia still looking strong, and I was alluding to it earlier, but I believe that Asuka will not be challenging Alexa for the Raw Women's title, but in fact she'll probably be challenging Charlotte. And the way I would do it is, you have an excuse to keep Asuka off TV now, sell the injury, and then the SmackDown pay-per-view, Fastlane, it's not next Sunday, but the Sunday afterwards, I say, have already announced for that show is Charlotte versus Ruby Riott for the SmackDown Women's title. So have Charlotte win, and then after the match, have Asuka come out and challenge Charlotte for the championship for a match at WrestleMania. Meanwhile, on Raw, they can do a match that I guess Vince has wanted to do for a long time now, and that's Nia versus Alexa. So I guess that'll be the match. So you have that, and SmackDown Women's title match, and possibly Sasha and Bayley, and then maybe some other match for the other women to compete in, and then a mixed tag involving Stephanie and Ronda. This could be the most women's matches, or the most matches involving women in WrestleMania history. So we could be making more history with the women come WrestleMania. Up next, Bray Wyatt versus Woken Matt Hardy. Bray Wyatt is impossible to take seriously anymore, and Woken Matt, like I swear, almost every single element of the Broken Matt character from TNA has been sucked out of him or is just completely non-existent in Woken Matt. Therefore, this feud has just been complete dog shit. It has bored me to tears. I have not enjoyed any of it. Early on, I got into it a little bit, but as time has passed and as it has drawn on, I have just lost all interest. And this match did not help much, nor did the fans help it either. These fans, I'll get into them, but so the match starts out. Matt Hardy came out, made his entrance. Then Bray made his entrance, but the lights went out, and then Bray was in the ring, but then Matt Hardy was gone. He started to sing the obsolete song, and then he appeared out of nowhere, attacked Bray, and then the match started. They fought for a little bit. Bray took most of the match, and during the course of this match, the fans got restless, and they started to chant, "We want beach ball." Apparently, there was an attempt to get a beach ball thrown around, but once it was brought out, the security confiscated it immediately. So they were chanting, "We want beach ball." They even chanted Rusev Day, which, to be fair, we haven't seen Rusev on SmackDown in weeks, so maybe their hope was that we would see him tonight. I mean, it's like, you can try, I guess. Rusev, one of the most popular characters in the entire company, who is currently on the brand that is the worst brand in the entire company, and he doesn't show up. SmackDown Live, which has just been absolute dog shit for a long time now, for a few weeks, even months. The same faces in the main event, the Shane Daniel Bryan shit, the lack of a good feud for the women. There's just so much wrong with SmackDown right now. And one of the best elements of the entire show is Rusev and Rusev Day, and he hasn't been on the show in like 2 or 3 weeks. So, I can't blame the fans for chanting his name on this show. If SmackDown's not going to use him, maybe Raw could. I don't know. But in the end, the Sister Abigail got countered into the Twist of Fate, and Matt Hardy won. Because, of course, how could you expect Bray Wyatt to win a match that he's in? If Bray Wyatt is in a match, just automatically assume that Bray will lose. If he wins, that's the shocker. Okay? Just always assume Bray Wyatt will lose. A few weeks ago, he got pinned by 2 people in a match that involved Apollo Crews. He got pinned by 2 people. Whatever. So up next was the Ronda Rousey contract signing. Out came General Manager Kurt Angle, as well as the Commissioner of Raw, Stephanie McMahon, and her husband, the COO, Triple H, who got a huge ovation from the crowd. So all 3 of them were out here to officiate Ronda's contract signing. She came out, got a mixed reaction. There were a lot of cheers, but there were also some very audible boos. We got a gist of that a few weeks ago when they announced that she was going to be on this show to sign her contract. When Kurt Angle made the announcement in the ring, he got booed. So Ronda's name got booed on that show. But on this show, she got a mixed reaction. The boos didn't start to really get higher until she started to talk. They gave her the mic, they gave her the opportunity to talk, and she's got a lot of work to do. She's not the best mic worker. I don't know how scripted her stuff was. Maybe don't give her a script and just let her talk. I can blame the script because I remember that Fast and Furious movie that she was in, and yes, I am talking about a Fast and Furious movie here. She was in a Fast and Furious movie, and she had just a few lines, and she delivered them very poorly, so I can attest that scripted material is not the best way for Ronda Rousey to talk. But she got a little flustered because the crowd started to chant her name and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, she wasn't doing too well. Then Triple H got the mic, talked a little bit more. And then eventually Kurt spoke up, and he was laughing because he was saying how, Triple H and Stephanie, they're so great because they're acting all nice here, but all they were talking about before was how they can't wait to, to manipulate you, Ronda. And, he was saying how, Triple H was saying before that once she signs the contract, we're gonna own this bitch or something like that. But Triple H cut him off. And it's like, okay, even if they did say that, why is Kurt just openly saying, like, that was very random. That's not like the Kurt Angle character. Maybe the Kurt Angle character from 2000, the gullible Kurt Angle. I could see that, Kurt Angle doing something like this. But the Kurt Angle general manager that we've gotten the past year, that was weird, So then Ronda starts to get, look at Stephanie and Triple H. Triple H was saying how, Kurt, he spent the last week with the flu, so he's not all right. You're damn straight Kurt's not all right. It's not just the flu either. So then Triple H escorted Kurt out of the ring, and it was just Stephanie and Ronda. Stephanie was talking a little bit, hyping her up and all that kind of stuff. And then Kurt from the ramp was saying something like, Stephanie, didn't you call Ronda a has-been and say that even you could take her or something like that? And by this point, the fans were really into the segment. Ronda started to back Stephanie into the ropes. Then Triple H got back in there. He tried to separate the two of them. And Ronda got in Triple H's face for a brief face-off. And Triple H kind of moved out of the way, got Stephanie out of the ring, turned back around to Ronda, and Ronda gave him, I don't want to say it was a backdrop. It was some kind of slam through the table. There was a table there with her contract, and she slammed Triple H through that table. Stephanie came back in and slapped Ronda, who then gave Stephanie the ultimate death glare, just stared a hole into her, and Stephanie backed out and got out of the ring, went over to the other side to console her husband. And at that point, Ronda signed the contract and left. There was no awkward pointing at the WrestleMania sign, at least none that I could see. So, there was that. I thought this was a really well done segment. I think the WrestleMania match is pretty obvious now. It'll be Ronda and Kurt Angle against Triple H and Stephanie. Unless they can get The Rock. But I don't know. I guess that'll have to wait and see. I mean, if they can somehow get The Rock to fill in that spot, I guess it wouldn't make sense for Kurt Angle to face Seth Rollins or something like that. But we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. Stephanie McMahon was on Raw Talk after the show, and she said, everything between me, Ronda, and Triple H and Kurt, it'll all be fine. And once we polish up Ronda and, tame her a little bit, she'll, be accommodated and she'll fit into the women's division very nicely. So it looks like they're going forward with a story like, this is fine, but, as long as they can tame her and almost control her and maybe make her a corporate Ronda, she'll be okay. So I guess that'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the next few weeks on Raw heading into WrestleMania. But, yeah, good segment. Ronda, either let her talk on her own or give her a mouthpiece, Maybe after WrestleMania, turn her heel and put Paul Heyman with her. He might need some work if Brock leaves, so. Although a certain rumored name to have signed with WWE might also be a good candidate to be a client of Paul Heyman. But I won't get too much into that now, just in case people don't want to know, and I'm not even 100% sure it's final. I saw one Twitter profile confirm it, but then other people just kind of ran with the story. Nothing's, as far as I'm concerned, really official, but I guess we'll know more in the next few weeks. They had promotion for the Fastlane show, the SmackDown pay-per-view in a few weeks. Not looking forward to that show. I hate SmackDown right now. There's just almost nothing to enjoy about the show. The main event scene makes no sense. The authority figures bickering with each other and one-upping each other or whatever they're doing sucks. The women's division, just nothing exciting. Tag team divisions, The stuff with Bobby Roode and Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton. Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton are feuding again. Ugh. SmackDown sucks right now, so Fastlane will not be enjoyable, but because I'm a glutton for punishment, of course I'm going to watch it anyway. So, there you go. And now we get to the main event, the men's Elimination Chamber match, the first ever 7-man Elimination Chamber. Elias was the final participant in this match, as well as Miz was one of the first men to start off. Also in the match was John Cena, Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Braun Strowman. We had a brief Elias concert at the very beginning. The fans, of course, were hot for him, but then Braun Strowman came out, interrupted, and Elias just went into his pod. Didn't even bring his guitar with him. Fail. You had one job, WWE, and you failed. So we had Miz, Seth Rollins, and Finn Balor started out. Nice little triple threat match here. John Cena was the first person released from his pod. Had a brief stare down with Seth Rollins. Two of them mixed it up a little bit. Seth Rollins, who was coming off of a great performance in the Gauntlet match on Raw last week, wrestling longer in one match than Brock Lesnar did in all of his matches in 2017 combined. I thought that was a amazing statistic. So Seth Rollins was pretty hot coming into this match, and one of the men he beat in that Gauntlet was John Cena. So yeah, Seth got a pinfall victory, clean pinfall victories over Roman Reigns and John Cena in one night, in one match. Something that I don't think anyone else will ever be able to do. The next person released from the pod was Roman Reigns. He uppercutted everyone and had a brief stare down with Seth Rollins. Eventually, Miz got all four guys down and did his it kicks or whatever on all four of them. It looked very weird. 4 guys on their knees with Miz standing in the middle of them. I'm a mature person, so I don't have a dirty mind like that, but it was not a good visual. But he just kicked all of them, and then kicked the hell out of Roman Reigns the most. So then Braun Strowman is released from his pod next, because at this point there's only two more men in their pods, and we knew Elias was going to be last, so out comes Braun, and he just unleashes on everyone. Miz runs scared from him. Seth and Cena, they tried to give him a suplex, but he ended up suplexing both of them. Miz, he was still running from Braun. He even ran up one of the pods. Then Braun climbed right up after him and tossed him off and had him fall onto everyone else. Then Braun ended up hitting Miz with the running power slam and eliminated him. And then when it was time for Elias to be released from his pod, he stayed in it. Braun kind of stared at him, was glaring at him, waiting for him to come out. And then John Cena, Roman Reigns, Finn Balor, and Seth Rollins all quadruple teamed him. They gave him a quadruple shield powerbomb. Covered him. All 4 of them covered him, and he kicked out. He got hit with the attitude adjustment, kicked out. Got hit with the spear and kicked out. And eventually he got hit with the coup de grace, and was it Seth's knee or the... I'm not sure what move it was, but he kicked out of everything. Eventually Elias did come in, tried to pick the bones, but he tried to pin like everyone who was laid out, but everybody kicked out. Then eventually Braun hit him with the running power slam and eliminated him. And I know Elias wasn't going to win this match. There was no way in hell Elias was winning this match, but he didn't get to have his guitar in the pod with him. And when he came in, he was nothing, and he quickly got eliminated by Braun. So, I don't know. I would have liked to have seen him have somewhat of a spotlight in this match. It was kind of disappointing. It's kind of a waste in this match, but oh well. Cena, he was fighting a little bit. He had a little bit of a spotlight, but then he got eliminated by Braun Strowman. Braun eliminated John Cena with the running power slam, and Cena was out there. Later on Raw Talk, Cena was on there, and he looked completely disheveled and depressed, saying that, he has to face the hard reality that there's a good chance he won't make it to WrestleMania, but he has a plan. So, I think we have a feeling, an idea of what that plan might be. And I think 95% of you are with me, and that you don't want to see that plan follow through, but there's a good chance it will. And in case I'm being too vague for you, there's a good chance we might get John Cena versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania. A match that I don't think anyone wants to see right now. Probably a match that not a lot of people have wanted to see before. I wanted to see it back when The Undertaker was still undefeated at WrestleMania, but that ship sailed. And, yeah, Undertaker needs to stay retired. I love The Undertaker. He's one of my favorites of all time, but I have no excitement or joy in the idea of The Undertaker wrestling again at WrestleMania, only for him to lose to John Cena. So, no. But Cena said he has a plan, but he was eliminated from this match. Finn Balor got a little bit of a spotlight, you know, drop kicks and sling blades and all that kind of stuff. He ended up hitting Balor or somebody, I think, with the coup de grace, but it was for nothing because he eventually got hit with the, what do you expect? The running power slam by Braun Strowman and got eliminated. And by this point, I'm like, I think I know what they're doing, and it's a really bad idea, and sure enough, they did it anyway. So then it came down to the Shield brothers and Braun. They tried to double team him, but then they turned on each other. Eventually Seth hit a frog splash from the top of the pod onto Braun Strowman, like dead center onto Braun Strowman. It looked brutal, but Braun still kicked out. Seth went to hit the curb stomp, but then Braun countered it and turned it into, he flipped him over and turned him and hit him with the another power slam and eliminated Seth. So Braun eliminated all 5 men in this match. The other men, aside from Roman Reigns, he pinned all of them cleanly with his move. And now it came down to him and Roman Reigns. What the fuck do you think happened? They fight for a while, but in the end, Braun goes for the power slam. Roman gets out of it. He hits Braun with 2 spears and beats him. He pins Braun Strowman. Roman wins, LOL, and it's official. They put the graphic up, a graphic I'm sure they've had ready since last year. The graphic being of Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And after the match, Braun Strowman beat up Roman, gave him the power slam, threw him through the glass of one of the pods, and stood tall. Look, a lot of people are going to talk about it. A lot of people are happy. There are even more people upset. There's some people pissed off. Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar had a really good match at WrestleMania 31. One of the better WrestleMania main events in the last few years. But that is not a match that a lot of people want to see. The match people wanted to see was between Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar. And hey, we saw that match at No Mercy, and it was not good. You know, it was good in my first sitting, but after watching it again, it was not all that good of a match. So I'm not even saying that Braun and Brock could have a really good match, but it's clear that the people wanted Braun in that spot. They even wanted Seth in that spot, especially after his performance in the Gauntlet match on Raw the previous week. It was very clear that there were at least 2 other options that people wanted to see face Brock, and they went with the guy that the people wanted to see the least face Brock Lesnar. But he was the obvious choice. He was obvious for a year now. So now we have to deal with it. Our WrestleMania main event is set in stone. Roman Reigns is heading to the WrestleMania main event for the 4th year in a row. And I think we all know how this story ends. Despite the whole steroid stuff that's going on, the allegations against Roman, despite all of that, I think it's pretty obvious what the outcome is going to be at WrestleMania. And just gotta suck it up and deal with it, I guess. So that's where we're at. And this show was average. I would like to say that the 2 chamber matches were so great that saved the show. They were good, not great. The chamber match last year was much better than the one we got on this show. But it was okay. It reminded me of the SummerSlam 2003 match where Goldberg killed everyone and Triple H sucked the air out of the arena and beat Goldberg. That's kind of how this match was booked to. But, we got our main event. Boy, Yeah, we do. So the next show is Fastlane, like I mentioned before. I imagine AJ Styles will walk out successfully with WWE title and will go on to face Nakamura at WrestleMania. Hopefully, once that feud kicks in, we'll have better quality television on SmackDown, but for the moment, we do not. But, yeah, so we're quickly approaching WrestleMania, and it's going to be in New Orleans. I will be there. I was at WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans, and I'm looking forward to going back this year, so it should be a lot of fun. But until Fastlane, I will talk to you guys later.